Thank you guys for having me, and I'll try my best. I did this in Shenzhen last week at the Hardware Massive there, and a little bit about me. I always have to point where in the US I'm from because not all Americans are the same. And in China, they think Americans are all the same, just like I guess we think Chinese are all the same. So I'm a Northeastern guy, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and I'm a mutt. My parents and grandparents just kind of had a big party in New York City. So I'm Italian, French, Canadian, and Russian. And yeah, I came to China in 07, been selling online since 03, eBay. Kind of just talking to Peter earlier, I went through the hard times. I feel like it's much easier now, and I'm still like the old fart that's kind of complaining about the old way of logistics and before FBA and before Amazon. And so yeah, I did e-commerce and then sourcing and a lot of bridging. Startup Weekend, I helped in China. And I did a startup for a few years that I exited to a Shenzhen app company about a year ago. And now I like to talk about it. So I have a podcast, Global from Asia, where we talk every week about business in Hong Kong and China, exporting a lot. So next slide. So yeah, I mean, I know everybody does Amazon and Kickstarter. I heard some Indiegogos. So we're not going to talk about that today. I feel like there's it's a really hot topic. I have a million WeChat groups and Facebook groups about Amazon and Kickstarter. So today I think they asked me to talk more about offline and traditional, which seems like a lot of people don't like. I forgot your name, John, and everyone thinks of like Steve Jobs and and Elon Musk like killing all the middlemen and going direct. But I think if you're a small startup, it's going to be pretty hard to do that. A lot of times these big guys, like even Steve Jobs, sold for many years through distributors. Later on, he killed all those guys and didn't care about them and started his own stores, but you can't open your own stores everywhere around the world. You can't be in every language all around the world. You can't be everywhere. So, we're going to talk about that later today. So next slide. So yeah, I think before you even start, it seems like some of you have your ideas of your distribution strategy. So first you got to decide, do you want to go direct only and cut out all the middlemen and drop your price as low as possible to give all the savings to the consumer? So if that's your model, then yeah, you should stick with that. But a lot of people think B2C, B2B, but there's also B2B to B2C, where you sell like all these different keywords. I guess I've been in China too long with these acronyms, but there's C2C, B2B, B2C, C2C, like go on forever, but you can just write this all down. So today I'm not sure, about an hour I think, but it can talk about this forever, and these could all be courses. Each slide could be a course, but maybe brainstorm some ideas of which ones you like. But of course there's Amazon, and some people asked me last week, what point do I think beyond Amazon? And it's not like there's a formula, but I think it just depends. Of course, focus is always very important for a startup. To focus on one channel, develop that channel until maybe you feel like you've kind of tapped that out, and then try another channel. So a lot of times that's the strategy too, is maybe focus one channel at a time. But we'll go through all of them today, and hopefully you can pick a couple to go with. So, this is some ways to have distributors. So a retail store is kind of a distributor for you. You can sell directly to the store. So I've done projects where I've worked with Spencer's Gifts in the US. I haven't sold to Walmart myself, but I know people that have. We'll talk about that in the next slide. Manufacturers reps. So I like this Chinese cowboy guy on a bike. But maybe there's these guys that are like independent sales reps that want to have a good rep your line. I'm going to keep picking you, but there's people that approach you they want to sell your product, they like your product. Of course, they make some money too, but they're these kind of just only salespeople. That's what usually a distributor, a retailer, they're sales and they're marketing people. They're not. Of course, people here in Hong Kong and China are usually product focused, manufacturer, designers. But usually in those markets, like in the US, there are a lot of salespeople. And then a little bit more tech world is drop shipping. So how many people know what drop shipping is? Okay, more than last week. So yeah, basically, for those that didn't, is where you give a cheaper price to someone else to sell your product to their customer base. They receive the money, and then they pay you. We'll talk about that in more detail in a special slide. And then affiliate marketing, affiliate marketing we'll go into, where that's a little bit more online based, but there's even offline based ways. And then promotional market, which is kind of another strategy where, I don't have an example today, but you could white label your product where people put their company logo on it, so you don't put your brand. And it's usually a lower priced product because they want to give it away to everybody at the event. Next slide. So in retail stores, a lot of people dream to sell to Walmart. They dream to, get the big deal with Target, and they're going to retire and collect all the money. But these big retailers usually have much more negotiating power than our startups. So they're going to push you usually for net 30, net 90. They're going to have these big contracts where they're going to make you sign deals that will kind of put you in a weak position. So if you're really the brand owner, or maybe they'll call you the manufacturer, but really what you're the owner of the product. You're the brand owner. You're the one that's probably going to be paying for it to be sold in the US. So you're going to probably be the person importing it into the US market and financing the inventory. You're going to pay the factory in China up front before they ship the product, and then you're going to sell it to Walmart or a retail store, and then they're going to take the product, but they're not going to probably pay you for a few more months. So you probably got like a 6-month or more lead time. So a good friend of mine sells LED lighting, industrial, and he's always financing and waiting to get paid. So you can do this with banks, you can do this with investors, you can do this with your own money, but you're going to be signing some pretty big contracts that are going to commit you for a long term. And of course the quality has to be perfect, and might send back either bad quality or excess inventory that they don't want. So retail stores is a big project. Next slide. So another one a lot of people don't know is manufacturer sales reps. So these are kind of those cowboys I mentioned earlier, and they're kind of dying, honestly, because everybody's going direct and everyone wants to sell online, but they still exist. So they're usually just a bunch of salesmen in a room that will go to their customer base. They'll go to trade shows around the US or in their region or where they're stationed, and they will rep your product as well as other product lines. So usually they're focusing on a type of vertical, like maybe like I did bar products. So I used manufacturer sales rep for my bartending supplies. So I had to send them a whole bunch of samples. I had to make catalogs because they wanted a catalog. I had to mail catalogs to all these different places, pricing lists, and they will get orders. And then also they're not going to buy the inventory from you either. So you're going to probably have to have inventory in the US somewhere for it to be shipped to them or directly to their customer. So it's also similar to a drop ship model, kind of. They get the customer, they pass the order to you, you ship it to their customer. It's still their customer. But again, it's a way to get into exposure. So I started selling to small mom and pop shops that I never would have been able to reach. Of course, Amazon is trying to take over the whole world, but there's still people that go to stores, I think, right? And there's still people that want to browse for new products and find new product ideas. So I think this might be a worthwhile channel, depending on your product and your strategy. Next slide.
That's a good question. What are their margins now for a tech product? What do they charge?
So I'm not too familiar with tech. I mean, I did more like bartending gear. So it had a higher margin. It didn't expire so quickly. Does anybody else know?
It depends on what model they're working on. If they're sometimes they'll just take a commission off of the sale, basically.
But yeah, I mean,
so that can be that kind of splits the difference between so somewhere between a wholesaler and like a wholesale distributor and selling direct sometimes.
Yeah, I think it was like 30 to 30% or so.
Yeah. So probably you wind up with a little bit better margin than you would if you're doing a straight distributor where they're taking the inventory risk, but you're having to deal with like what Mike said. These
are old school. Yeah, they're old it's not like a new industry. These are basically sales guys that have relationships with smaller retail stores within like Northwest America or different regions, and they're getting in their cars and they're driving to meet the buyers. So drop shipping is one I like. I built my bar products business a lot on drop shipping, where I became the drop shippee. So that allowed a lot of other people to sell my product directly to their customers, online or offline, and then pass me the order, and I would ship directly to their customers. So just so we talk about the format, there's a few different ways you can do this, and you should be very clear on your dropship terms to your customers. I upset some of them the hard way, but there's blind ship, where you don't show who is the sender. It might be tricky internationally, but within the US, you could kind of it could be like a generic label, so they don't know who is actually the one shipping it.
Well, like what would be on the label? Like, because you are going to put like something, right?
Yeah, usually you could use a logistics company. So I used, before Amazon FBA, I was doing Webgistics, which is still around, and they would just ship it from their company. So yeah, there's technical things you got to set up. So basically, some of these are more investments than others. So I had to set up a separate back-end system for drop shippers. So I gave them a cheaper price, and I also had them the ability to change what they could put on their labels. But of course, this is all investment of technology and time. So that's one where you just say, okay, all my drop shippers, I'm just going to blind ship. I'm just going to like tell you, I'm not going to put your label, I'm not going to put my label, I'm just going to kind of generic ship this goods to your customer. Especially if they're smaller drop shippers, smaller sellers, you don't want to custom label them. And then the second is maybe they're a big drop shipper, or they're a big distribution channel, and they're going to say, we'll drop ship your product, but we want to show our label. So I remember I used this example. I was in New York City, and I got a modem from Verizon, and that's one time I learned about drop shipping. Was that modem didn't come from Verizon. The modem came from the manufacturer or the distributor, but it said Verizon on the packaging, and the invoice said Verizon, the box said Verizon, but it actually was shipped directly from their distributor. That's when I first learned about drop shipping in like 2004. And of course, Verizon would call, if Verizon wanted to buy that charger, and they said, we're going to buy, we will put a purchase order for 1 million pieces, but you got to put our name, Verizon, and our box will say Verizon, and our packing slip will say Verizon. I think you would take, I don't know, it's up to your business decision, but I think most people would take that order, take that deal. But if it was just like a small business that's saying, hey, I have this website, I get like 1,000 visitors a month, can you put my logo on your product? Can you put my logo on your packaging, on your slip, right? You probably wouldn't do that. So that you would probably just blind ship that kind of customer. And then the third is where you can make a mistake, and sometimes there's technical problems, or sometimes you don't care, is you just show your name and show your brand when you send it to the customer. But the main point is, if you do this one, you should tell your dropshipper you're going to do this, because they don't probably want you to do this, because they hope that the customer will buy from them again. So if you show the customer that it came from you, they'll probably just go to your website, or they'll go to where you're from. So you can get in trouble. Sometimes they'll test you, they'll buy from you, or they'll hear from their customers about this. So this is a little bit more dangerous, but the most important thing is don't put their price on on the shipping. Of course, you maybe packing slip only. Don't put the price. Don't put the invoice in the, because of course if you send it to their customer and you say I got this for $15, and they actually paid $30 or $20, you don't want the buyer to know. So just be careful on this if you're going to use this kind of model. Next slide. So affiliate marketing. Actually, Amazon, I don't know what percentage of Amazon sales are affiliate, but Amazon has an associates program where probably if you sell on Amazon, probably a lot of your traffic might be coming from not Amazon itself, but bloggers, podcasters, other people sending traffic to Amazon, and Amazon pays affiliate commission to those people. So this is more like online affiliate. This is online distribution. I know I said I would talk about mostly offline today, but this could even be done on an offline model. This didn't just exist in the internet days. There's coupon codes you can offer to people. So I could say today, oh, if you buy this product and you put Hardware Massive as your coupon code, you'll get 5% off. But then Hardware Massive might get 5% commission as an affiliate, right? So we'll talk about pricing later, but the main point is, just at least the major point of my presentation today is to let other people make money in the supply chain. That I know the trend is, everybody's just going to buy off Amazon and droids, or bots are going to fly into the window and drop it off, and there's going to be no human interaction at all, and everything's going to come from the Chinese factory into a boat, into a robot, and there'll be no humans. But there's still going to be humans for now, at least. So for your short term, you should let some human beings in the process make some money. So if you want to let some affiliates make some money, it doesn't even have to be product. It could be services. It could be anything. So I always like this. So there's some services like ShareSale is the one I've used. You have to pay like $400 US setup fee. I think it's more now. And then or Commission Junction or iDev Affiliate. This is where you have to install it. So actually, Global from Asia has an affiliate program. But I don't sell products, I sell services, but I have tracking links. So I use personally iDev Affiliate, and I've installed it in my site, and then it gives people custom URLs that they can then place on their websites as banners or text links, or even on my podcast I can say, go to. Usually I make a pretty URL, but I can say go to this website.com/keyword. And then if somebody follows that link, it will track it. I could put that on receipts. I didn't really put it in a presentation, but you can also do this on your Amazon orders. So it's a little bit more advanced, but you can put certain packaging inserts with your Amazon orders. So you could give it's not really affiliate, but you could give like a rebate, factory rebates, if they fill out this long form. They can get a discount, or they can get a 1-year money-back guarantee, warranty on their product. You could even maybe cross-sell other people's products. I haven't heard of that one, but that's a new idea. But these are just ways of affiliate marketing. It's very complicated. There's people that make full-time livings doing just affiliate marketing. Next slide. So pricing. So the main point is if you're going to use distributors, they're going to need to make some money in the process. How much they make is basically dependent on how much risk they take in the supply chain. So we're going to go into pricing. I wanted to add a slide because we had a lot of engineers last week. It's not just taking your cost of your product and multiplying it times a multiple. I think pricing should be set by your marketing department or your sales department, not by your engineering department. Because you don't just take especially Chinese engineers, because Chinese especially always think price is the most important, and they'll lower the price as low as possible to attract customers. But this is kind of an example for me, like within the bar product. So usually you want to 3 times mark up your product from manufactured costs, maybe even more if you can, at least minimum. But the market might not allow that. That's where you got to decide if this product is good for you or not. If the market's selling it for $5 and you pay $3, it's probably just not a good product for you, or you're not getting the right price. So I would so say you get it for $5, maybe your reseller could double it if they're going to be the importer into that market. The drop shipper wouldn't get the same price because they're not buying the product up front. They're just buying when they sell. So they're just not taking as much risk in the order. And then maybe the affiliate would get, it could be usually between 5 to 15%. Like even Amazon Associates, I think they start at 8% or so, but it goes up higher if they sell more. So you could make it like if they sell more, they get a higher commission. Again, I don't want you guys to write this down and put it into an Excel formula. You should work backwards. You should see what's the customer willing to pay. What's the current market prices? What are people like think the value of this good is like?
Well, and for more expensive stuff, a lot of times you don't necessarily get that multiple. So like if you're like hundreds of dollars and it's a relatively commodity thing, they may be looking more at what's the dollar margin that you're making instead of percentage. So it may be okay that you're making $50 off of each unit sale, or something like that, instead of looking at like doubling or tripling or whatever.
Okay, yeah, it kind of goes into MSRP. So you're actually called the manufacturer, although most of you probably aren't really the manufacturer, but in the marketplace, you're seen as a manufacturer because you're the one that's taking the risk to pay for the product, to design the product, to import the product into the market. So you're the manufacturer, you're also the brand owner. I'm assuming you guys like here have your own packaging, you have your own logos, your own name. So you're the brand owner. So you should be setting the price in the market. But again, you gotta be careful. You can't force this price. That's like, especially in the US, you can't force it to be sold at this price, but you can suggest it to be sold at this price. Am I wrong? I don't.
You can reinforce it, like.
It's a little tricky.
But I think, like, what I had feedback from was what people are interested in. If they're purchasing stuff, making sure you're not going to come in and undercut your MSRP to where they're holding inventory that they paid. You know, they can't sell the inventory basically.
Yeah.
That's one side of it.
Yeah, like one of my friends, he bought a container of MP4 cases before iPod, I guess, or something. But I remember this story, and he was selling on eBay, and by the time it got to LA, it was on eBay in China for the same price he bought them for. So yeah, you got to be a little bit careful. So that's where if you own the brand, right? I'm not actively selling on Amazon now, but I follow a lot of this talk, and everybody's so paranoid about people selling on their buy box. You got to protect your brand. That's your differentiator. Sure, there's patents, but the main point is trademarks and brands. That's your best protection. I know a lot of people are paranoid about their designs, but I think the goal is your brand. So even though somebody might have the exact same product, it could be different because it's your brand. But you should still try to tweak it a little bit. But at least here, so you should set it. So next slide.
That's a question. You just mentioned blind shipping, packaging name. Is the brand on it? They search it up, right?
Yeah, it's tricky with international shipping. I mean, I usually did this within the US to US, but you could show the logistics company or your fulfillment house instead of your name. So you'd have to have a special kind of feed or a system to your shipping company.
Packaging, say that also over there.
Well, it's a little bit. That might be a little bit different for the actual brand, but if you're selling it on your own website, so it's tricky because you have your own product. Some people don't let you buy it on your own website. They just list their distributors, or they just sell on Amazon, or they don't want to actually have a Shopify site or their own website because they want other people to make money, and maybe that's their distribution strategy. So I guess I mean in the fact that if you sell it on your website, it's more about the distribution channel than the product.
Well, if you're building a brand around your product, you probably aren't going to also be doing blind drop shipping.
Yeah.
They're kind of.
Yeah, if you just.
They don't really go there.
You can just choose not to blind ship, but you might get requests, from distributors to blind ship or to put their shipping label. But I keep seeing Zentree, so if it was Zentree.com, you wouldn't say, if you sold this on Target.com or somebody that says blind ship it, you wouldn't say, thank you for buying on Zentree.com. See you next time at Zentree.com in the pack on the receipts. You wouldn't maybe put Zentree.com on the packaging. Of course, the product is a product, but I'm talking more about the where they bought it from. So yeah, I mean, distributors and resellers. So you are like, yes, I need more sales, I need more customers, but they're thinking they don't really care about you. They were looking for they're under pressure to find good products that they can sell in their channels. So they're not trying to build your brand. They're not trying to, they want to capture sales from your brand or your product. So, if you want to attract them to distribute your product, you need to show that you're going to be you're getting press on, you're getting on the news, you're getting people searching Google for your brand, you got people going to the store asking for it. So, some people I know sold bottled water. And how hard is it to sell bottled water? There's so much water in stores. But they would get just massive press, and they would get people going to the stores asking for that water. So it's a much better position when the distributor is going to your website and contacting you, right? Or if you're still trying to pitch to the distributor, you could at least say you have like a press kit, or you have all this showing all these things to help them get more sales. Maybe you can say, hey, everybody buys my water or buys my Zentree, but they're also gonna, if they go to your store or their website, they're also gonna buy, a stand and more products that you can sell, so you'll get even more sales. Not just my product, they might buy other products. So you're trying to position it to give, I think it's the key in any negotiation is to try to sell them what their benefit is, not try to make it look like what you're going to get. So it's about positioning, sending them traffic. Traffic's not just web traffic, it's also store traffic. Again, if you don't want to sell directly on your website, maybe you feel like I'm not going to sell on my own website. I'm going to say we sell at these retailers. And you could put a retail distributor's page on your site. I see a lot of manufacturers websites, they say sold in these fine retailers, and you can put their logos, links to your products on their pages. They're trying to focus on sending customers to those channels to keep those channels happy. I know people are sometimes threatened when, I've done my own products too, and they're always like, why would I put my product in my store if they can go to your website and buy it directly for cheaper? So sometimes people just purposely sell it for more on their websites, and they let the retailer sell it for less. So that, you don't have to be the cheapest. Just because you're online doesn't mean you have to be the lowest price. There's these strategies, and of course they have to trust you, and you have to also build that trust over time. Because if they catch you later changing what you said, they won't buy from you again. So you just really got to think, what's your strategy? Or are you going to be like Steve Jobs and maybe just, who cares about my distributors? I'm just going to kill them all and cut off my contracts and open my own stores. But yeah, of course I love that energy, but that's a huge commitment. And you can do that later if you really want to. These contracts could be one. You can make contracts. But if you really want to change that, you got to be ready to face the consequences, because they're not going to be happy or buying from you again. Next slide. So yeah, of course the positives of going traditional is they're going to be doing usually larger volumes. They have channels, they have customers, they have trust, they have relationships. So especially if you're like here in China or in Hong Kong, and you don't know anybody, you're just sitting next to this 3D printer hoping to get somebody to buy from you. These guys could be your partners. They're not really the enemy. They're Maybe you just don't want to do sales and marketing. Maybe you just want to let people buy from these stores or buy from Amazon or buy from these websites. You don't want it. You just want to make product. You know, why do you need to do everything yourself? You know, I think that's the beauty of business and the beauty of you know, of life is if you can focus on what you like to do. So, and also they do kind of like I mentioned earlier, they build legitimacy in your brand. They make you look more popular, more widespread. You can say on your website, on your sales materials, sold in Target, sold in Walmart. Well, some people might not want to be sold in Walmart. It depends on your, you know, I don't know, like your espresso machine wants to be in Walmart or not. You also got to think, do you want to be in these channels? Do you want to only be at high-end retailers? Do you only want to be in, you know, or do you want to just be on price? So you also got to match who you're trying to line up with in your retail stores. But if they match your brand and they match what you're trying to achieve in your customer base, then of course I think it's going to help you, and leverage that as much as you can. I don't think you should hide it. You should let everybody know, put a blog post up, put the logos on your website, send an email out to your customer base, and support them. I think treat them like a partner. But yeah, the drawbacks, usually like you don't know who your customer is. You know, if you do sell on your own Shopify website, you get the email address, the name, the address, you know everything about your customer. But even Amazon, you don't know about your customers if you sell on Amazon. Don't know if you sell on Walmart. So that's why I was mentioning earlier about like the postcards inside the packaging. Try to, I don't really have this in presentation, but try to maybe make a little flyer you insert in your packaging. So you can say, oh, Zentree, we will send you a free how-to guide or a free upgrade. Maybe even send them a real product, or you know, if it's cheap, like a way to clean it or something. But maybe say, go to zentree.com/gift, and we will send you a free cloth to wash this off. It's going to cost you like a few dollars, but you're going to get your customer data. That's why you see a lot of times when you buy electronics in stores, they have all those postcards, postage prepaid. They want to know about their customer because they don't know who their customers are, because the stores don't tell them, or the Amazon doesn't tell them. Yeah.
Very quick question. Have you tested this before with your own products? So did you put inserts into your products, and did you test what goes best? Discount code versus free product versus whatever?
I haven't done it within the Amazon channels. I did this on my own website. I didn't test different offers though. I was just collecting email addresses for within eBay, but I didn't test it.
Well, even what did you offer in return?
I was just telling them to sign up. I wasn't this advanced then. I've learned a lot more of this from the information marketing world, like being a blogger, a podcaster. Information marketers are the best at this stuff. Like I've been studying this more since I've had like a blog and a podcast for the last few years. Because product guys, like products aren't as advanced. So it's something I actually have learned.
About is whatever you could be, sign up first purchase discount code, right? Or sign up how-to guide, free product, and so on and so forth.
So,
I was wondering if you had experience how this.
I mean, I tested my blogs, but it probably should be the most relevant to your product.
Yeah.
And you could definitely test. That's what landing page is all about. You could have just only show that URL in that page, in that card, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't put this on your website. You wouldn't link this on your homepage. You would just put it in that card.
Precisely.
And measure from that card.
Okay, very good.
But yeah, it's actually, honestly, it's a newer idea since I've been doing this. But that's the way to that's how these product manufacturers get around the retailers, whether it's Amazon or stores. That's how they get it.
Well, Amazon is strictly not allowed. It's essentially not allowed because it's against TOS because you're trying to redirect traffic. If you're being very literal about this. Depends on how aggressive you really want to be.
Well, no, but
I don't know if
talking
that's.
about wholesale,
Yeah, this is after they bought the
in
product.
the box.
Yeah.
sign up for extended warranty or whatever it is. Which,
Extended warranty is one thing,
Yeah.
right? But I think if you go to the very aggressive end of the spectrum and say, buy on our website, free shipping, discount code for your first purchase, that's
Yeah.
very aggressive. And it's
I was-
very
yeah.
much geared towards redirecting traffic away from,
Yeah, but probably wouldn't say that. Honestly, I wouldn't say that on the postcard in Amazon. I would say get a free gift, and then in the email series later, you could get them in a newsletter.
a free gift. Yeah, I like that.
You wouldn't sell in. I sorry if I said that, but I wouldn't sell in the postcard. I would give them something for free just to get their information, and then later sell to them. Just like on your website, on your homepage, you should try to get them to give you your email from anybody coming to your website. But usually,
To make them, one idea is to make them purchase. By
Sure.
discounting steeply, offering ridiculously low shipping, just make them convert, and then we have the emails anyway.
yeah,
Fine.
that's true too. It depends on your product and your Okay. So we're gonna go. So now I hope I convinced you, and we're gonna go through some few standard examples. We'll go through these in a second. Next. So this is an example sell sheet. So actually, you can start with a sell sheet before you have a product. Honestly, you don't have to have your product made before you can sell. So this is just taken off Google, but basically it's usually one page, maybe 2 pages. And the idea is you introduce your product to a buyer. So this is not going to be specifications, it's not going to be very detailed. It's going to just show you the features and the benefits, product pictures. But the more important part is it's going to show you how you sell. So you'll show your item, all these different SKUs are basically listing the types of inner cartons, outer cartons, how many products do you have to buy to get certain either pricing or certain benefits. It gets really complicated with stores. So I was learning about packaging for shelves. You could have pricing for if you want to have your own stand in the store. So that would actually be all these different ways. When you talk to a retailer, they're going to want to know all these different it's a lot of packaging. There's going to be packaging for buying one piece or buying a carton or all these different styles, and then some terms about the packaging again. So, again, B2B is really about outreach. So, of course, trade shows are great, like the Startup Launchpad or any kind of trade shows, either in Asia or a lot of times maybe in your own market, and a lot of times going to industry trade shows. So I got to go to the bar show in Las Vegas. I got drunk like all the time while I was working, and you've been there, right?
It's you remember anything? There's a lot of alcoholics.
It's like alcoholics. People would just pay the fee to just be able to drink for free everywhere. Like it's a party. They also have it in New York. So yeah, of course, it's basically a hustle. Really, it's kind of the opposite of marketing, but it's basically internet marketing. Is getting emails so you can buy databases online. Hopefully they're good, but try not to spam. Try to be a little bit strategic. You can do mail merges where you try to put their name and a sentence about them. There's a lot of these new tools for email outreach, but I think B2B, I've talked to a lot of people, is all still about email. I think it's much more effective than Facebook or online ads. It's still mostly buyers are still, I think, checking email.
What about WeChat?
Well,
Broadcast WeChat.
so WeChat, yeah, I mean WeChat's for mainland China. Yeah, I mean, well, Chinese people don't check email. I think they skipped email. They just went QQ, WeChat. They just never actually.
Or I'm saying, or WhatsApp, or SMS. I would put all those in the same group. Do you have any experience with it?
Yeah, I mean, I live in Shenzhen. I have a special WeChat phone just because there's so much messages on it. But I think I know even in Hong Kong, a lot of people selling to distributors in mainland China by listing their products on their moments. I mean, yeah, WeChat's a whole different system. It's a whole world inside WeChat. I mean, WhatsApp and WeChat are not the same. WhatsApp is just messaging, but WeChat is like social networks, mobile commerce.
I was just saying, since email is kind of very old school, what I was basically saying is, what about mechanisms that are direct to mobile phone? And you can have SMS or WeChat or WhatsApp.
Still, I think I'm talking more about U.S. market than Asia market, and I still think U.S. people still use SMS, from what I understand. So I think WhatsApp is more international because people don't want to pay roaming, but US is like unlimited SMSs everywhere within the US. So people still haven't really adopted to WhatsApp, maybe Facebook Messenger, but I still think like a 40-year-old buyer at a retail store is checking their email at work for offers, then checking their Facebook or maybe LinkedIn.
The thing that I thought was super interesting about WeChat in terms of a broadcast that you could do with email is the fact you can send a broadcast out, but if the person says, I'm interested, WeChat actually directs that to a human being in a call center. And with emails, most people who send email blasts out send it from no reply app. And so they miss the opportunity to grab a conversation.
Yeah. My last startup, Social Agent, I had please reply at socialagent.me as my from. And some people replied, but I still think you're not going to be using info at your company name. You're going to probably use Michael at your company name. If you're sending out B2B sales, you're going to want to look like a person, not like a company. And you're going to want to say, I am the sales rep of XYZ company. And I like usually scheduling a phone call or a meeting. You're not trying to sell directly in an email.
Something I found really interesting getting in the coffee business was that all of it is done through Twitter messages to each other, which I thought that was so weird.
Wow.
But they use Twitter as a way to basically filter out spam.
Yeah. In
other words,
which markets?
If I'm selling coffee machines and I would like this cafe to resell it, I need to follow them, they follow me back, and then I can message them.
Yep.
And then they'll reply.
Cool.
And if you try to email them, you won't get through.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on your market. It's good you know that about your market. So just like everything in marketing or sales, you should test different channels. So I still feel like, well, in industries I've worked in, a lot of them are still on email. But yeah, you should test which market works for you. Maybe if you want to buy a database of leads and send out a list, see what comes back. But yeah, it should all be measuring. So that's where a CRM comes into play. So WeChat has, yeah, like you mentioned, a CRM built in. So CRM is a customer relations management tool, or at least Excel, if you are lazy, but at least use Excel or something or a piece of paper. Don't try to remember everybody. You want to impress them because they're not going to buy from you right away. B2B is not going to be like, oh yeah, I'll buy 100 cartons of your product. It's going to be like, oh, how's your kid today? Oh, my kid's good. He's got diarrhea and I didn't sleep last night. And it's like, oh, and then the next week it's like, oh, is your kid still got diarrhea? Or it's like, you don't want to say, oh, did you, you want to try to keep that relationship going. So that's what a CRM is for. You keep track of your potential customers' diarrhea of their kids. But I'm saying, like, they'll be impressed that you remember them. It's like stalking, kind of. But if you're, I think a good salesperson doesn't have to be so outgoing, but they have to be a good listener and they have to be a good person that's keeping track of their relationships. A lot of times people think salespeople are aggressive, but I think a good salesperson is a person that listens to the needs of what their customer wants. So yeah, I think another one is kind of obvious, but it's worth saying is, I love my footer of my website. I like website footers. I think footers are good for B2B. Maybe the top of your website is for B2C to keep it simple, like where you put your product listing or your catalog. But I think, at least for me, and I think most people, I think if they're a B2B person, I think they scroll to the bottom and they look at like resellers, affiliates, drop shipping, So you should list all of these. So I'm always impressed by by that, just make a landing page to welcome. Some people in that, maybe they think this coffee guy doesn't want me to be a distributor. He's just doing direct. Maybe he's right. But if you are open to having distributors, resellers, make a page. And maybe you can just start with one page. Don't go crazy making like 10 landing pages for every single distribution channel. Maybe you can just say partners and have a partners page that says, yes, we are very excited to partner with you, and we're looking for long-term relationships in markets. And you're not going to say buy a carton here, $1,000. You're going to say a lead. You're going to say name, email, phone number. Does your kid get diarrhea every week or every other week? Or you want to stalk. This is where you start stalking them in a CRM. But it's where you want to start tracking them. This is the beginning of the relationship. So you want to get as much information as you possibly can that they're willing to give you. Next. And then I heard him talk about exclusives. This is really annoying. It is annoying, but it's going to be talked about all the time. They're going to come to you at a trade show. They're going to email you. They're going to want to try to get an exclusive, especially if you're a new product. If you're like the hottest Kickstarter or Indiegogo product, they're going to want an exclusive. It's just in the best interest of a distributor or a retailer because they want to protect their investment. So I think I say it in his bullets, but they're investing in you. They're taking a risk. They're going to show your product to their network, to their customers. I'll stop the diarrhea thing, but they're going to call the diarrhea kid's parent. They're going to say, hey, I got this new product, and you should get in on it. But they're afraid that guy's just going to go to Google and say, I'll just contact them directly. Why am I going to buy from this guy? I mean, but it doesn't have to be where they double the price in Korea. Like, the price could still be the same. You don't have to, you don't have to make the price so high. You could build it in where you let them make money. Maybe you just say, sorry, we want to keep our pricing reasonable. We're not going to let you like double it, but we will send you a lot of customers. Or there's different ways you can work it out. But exclusives is a lot of discussion. So I've made these exclusive contracts for like Holland, and I'm like Googling distributors contracts. But it's all about negotiating and what you can get. But my tips are, get them to at least commit a certain amount of volume if you're willing to give them exclusive. And exclusive, you could kind of make an exclusive for United States of America, but you could also make an exclusive for Kentucky. Yeah. So it's like, okay, fine. It's like negotiation. It's like, okay, you insist on exclusive. I will give you an exclusive in, like your city or your block. You can negotiate, but Europe is EU, or is it their countries, or it's always painful because for you, you're like, well, what if this guy's not going to really perform? But you should try to structure some kind of an agreement where either a limited amount of time or a minimum amount of order they have to buy from you. But it's true, they do have, you got to think from their side. From their side, they're afraid they're going to start selling it and they're going to get cut out and they're going to not be able to, make money. I mean, the robots aren't delivering yet. The robots are coming, but right now the robots aren't here. So there are humans that need to be involved. So, if, maybe, or they can even pay, maybe they'll pay you sometimes, or they'll give you a deposit for orders. It's all bargaining. I don't know if there's really a formula. I don't know if John or anybody knows. It's every time I've done this, it's like a different negotiation.
To me, it just depends on like how big of a who are they selling into? If you're talking about for the whole U.S., yeah. Okay, what channels are they you're not going to give them for the whole U.S. because does that include education and everything? So you need to figure out what's the scope. And then, to me, the main thing would be performance costs. So
yep.
If you go in and 6 months later they've really just done nothing, you can pull it back and legitimately restart it.
Yep.
Those are the two big things.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I have a lot of experience with exclusives, and a couple things I'd say. One is, if you think about distributors, if If you're not exclusive, don't even do it. Like, only do exclusive. I know this sounds completely contrary, and the reason is, let's just say I'm doing exclusive to Germany, right? If I don't do exclusive and I get 2 distributors in Germany, what's going to happen? They're going to price compete. And what they're going to do is they're going to compete back and forth until they're making no margin on my product, and then they're not going to push my product at all. And that happens over and over and over again. And what you want is you want distributor partners who are making gobs of money from your product, so they're pushing the hell out of you. If all they're doing is order taking, that's no good. So what has always worked for me is an exclusive contingent on minimum order volume. And if they fail, they're gone. And you let them know 3 months beforehand, like you haven't made the quota, you need to actually buy it. And I don't care what you do with it afterwards, or the contract's over and we're calling your competitor. And that really motivates them. It's called making them pregnant. You make them pregnant with your product, and they have your baby, and they gotta do something with your baby, or it's not gonna happen. It totally works.
I had maybe the exact opposite experience. I had in Germany, I had 10 distributors, and you're right, they all compete against each other until their margins go down.
Yeah.
But that, for the manufacturer, means huge volumes. So instead of just, because
But what happened like
But
3
don't
years
they
later?
compete their money away? I completely see this.
But a couple of years, it totally works initially, you get a lot of volume, but then they lose interest like 2-3 years later.
they have no choice because the demand, the end users are out there, they're asking for the product. So if they don't sell your product, they're in trouble. So even though they don't make much money on it, they still continue to buy from because they're worried that they'll lose the customer.
So what I have experienced, I've experienced what you described too, and they continue to sell my product, let's say like 5% product, 5% margin, because they know I'm going to come out with a new product where they'll make like 30% margin for 2 years, and they know that if they stop selling the earlier product, I'm just going to cut them out. So they essentially are fulfillment houses. That's essentially what they are.
That is it. Like you said, they're not interested in your brand anyways. They just,
Yeah, so then, I mean, that's interesting. Well,
But I think overall it depends on the product.
yeah, it's so hard. This
Like
is,
for me, I'm looking for distributor partners for 3D printers. And really, my approach is find somebody that's going to cover, an area very well, support it well locally, especially if it's a different language than what we'll really easily provide support with.
So
And that's it.
in your situation, I would only go with people who have no product to compete with you.
Sure.
Because if they have multiple boxes, they'll just sell the box they have the best margin on.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think it's a little bit different in this particular market. As long as you have a clear difference in your product, that is an advantage. So for me, my product actually has an advantage built in for them to promote it because it's less hassle for them to support.
Absolutely.
So anyway.
okay. Next slide. Back to the reps. It's a plug. He's my friend. I paid this service. He's in California, Roger Wilson, but it's not cheap. It's like $4,000 or $5,000 up front one time, and he basically he's a rep himself, and he's kind of burned out with Chinese suppliers. I should talk to him. He did some with suppliers, and he got cut out later. But basically, he has a database, and he'll look at your product, and he'll check his databases and try to match you up with reps in the U.S. that match your product line. It's kind of like consulting, so I don't have an affiliate link for that one, but maybe he should give me one. Databases is, if you don't want to maybe use somebody like him, or you want to just buy a database, you can try to find online lists of distributors, or there's tricks like scraping websites, directories, and stuff like that to try to get the information, or just having somebody data entry by searching.
Well, what somebody, a good example of the scraping, if you have a main competitor that you're going against, if you look at where they're getting their distribution, you can basically use that as your starting point. If you've got something that's either similar but different, or a better product or whatever.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
True. Or trade shows. So go to the bar shows or global sources shows, or these different types of ways, hopefully focused on your industry to make it as most worthwhile. Again, a lot, we're getting towards the end. I mean, it's been about a little bit over an hour, but it's about building relationships, right? So B2C is like, just have the buy now box or just the Amazon sales. But if you want to get distribution channels, you're going to have to, at least be able to deal with people on email, deal with probably longer emails, quotation attachments, contracts, terms, keeping in touch with them over time, tracking how they're doing, how they're selling your product, supporting them too, to try to help them get more sales. Because if they get more sales, you get more sales. So it's like, it's about building a long-term relationship with these distributors. So just try to think of them as like partners. So that's it. And just, a lot of times people get overwhelmed with these presentations or any kind of information. So I maybe just pick one thing and try to.
Question, because you're talking about offline and talking about affiliates. And I'm tinkering with an idea. I don't know if you have any experience with it. There are lots of outlets out there in the retail world that don't want to be a reseller of products. Okay, in my case, I'll just say you've got a cafe. They don't want to sell coffee machines because they're selling coffee, right? But they're happy if someone says, hey, what coffee machine should I buy? But what's in it for them to do that? Why should they do? So that's where I'm playing with the idea of an affiliate.
Yep.
Because a cafe is in no position to support my machine. They don't have any salespeople, but it's like, oh, you want a coffee machine? Oh, here, take John's business card. And then I might kick either product back at them or a 10% commission or whatever. Do you have any experience with crafting offline affiliate or just that lead referral?
Sure. I mean, I've done it for all, it could be for any kind of, it could be product or service, really. The best way to do it is if you give a discount to that, you give something that they can offer them, the potential customer, that will be better than going to your website
like
direct.
Like you got 5% off.
Yeah, give them a discount. Yeah. That's because they're going to be less incentivized to tell people to buy your product if they get commission, because they're still not sure if that, especially if it's a coffee shop, I'll give you a name card, you're going to read the brand, you're going to probably put the card in your pocket, lose it, and then remember it later. So if there's some kind of a way you can convince them that they will actually have some differentiator than just tell them to go to your website and put their coupon code.
Bang & Olufsen did, which was always super sleazy and worked really well, was they paid off the referrer, not the company. So like if you're a barista at a coffee shop and you referred my coffee machine, after you do 10 referrals, I give you, the barista, personally a machine. And I totally cut out the cafe. And that's what Bang & Olufsen does, is if you refer, go buy some Bang & Olufsen beer, at the end of the year, you get free Bang & Olufsen beer. And that's pretty clever, because the businesses often are looking at the money they might make from the referrals and saying it's not worth it.
It's true. That is a good one. Yeah, because a lot of times I even do stuff like, half the time it's a good problem, but people don't even just want to still do it anyway because they like to do it. So, but it still maybe gives them a reason to or at least gives you that way to tell them to tell their friends.
Yeah.
But half the time people say don't worry about the commission. But by having that, you can at least open the conversation to let them know that you need or want them to tell people to buy your product.
I used to have an anti-spam program, and I started with affiliate marketing, and I found that people felt tainted to refer my product if they were getting a commission.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I got rid of the commission and I put in a card that says help fight spam, more people referred because they weren't getting sales. So affiliate marketing is super tricky.
It's tricky. It goes all kinds of ways. Like I listen to Pat Flynn a lot. He's a podcaster, but some people will say you can buy direct, or if you want to give me a cup of coffee, you can click this affiliate link. So sometimes they put two links for the same service. Those are the guys I like the best, because you're supposed to say you get commission on your website in the U.S. You're supposed to tell people you're getting paid for this recommendation. So sometimes people just say, you can buy this here, but if you want to give me some commission to support this website or business, buy from my affiliate link. Or I've seen people say with Amazon, they'll say in their podcast, or they'll say, if you want to support the show, click this so you go to Amazon, buy anything you want. Within the next 30 days, I'm going to get commission. So sometimes people want to make sure. You can just tell them I'll get some money, or the barista maybe can just say, hey, if you use my coupon code, I'll get some free t-shirt. I mean, if it's, of course they have to want to, it has to be a product that they believe in. That's the main point.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Mike.
Okay.